Welcome to TRT World and to beautiful Tirana, the capital of Albania. I am Semir Sejfovic here with a new style and edition of the show. Our team will provide you with the latest information from the region. So let us take you across the Balkans. Albania has spoken after Sunday's parliamentary elections. Prime Minister Edi Rama is poised to secure a historic fourth term, with his Socialist Party leading at 52% of the vote, according to preliminary results. Albanians across the country headed to the polls, aimed high stakes, bitter rivalries, and promises of reform. Here's more from Albania.
In a landmark vote, Albania's Prime Minister Edi Rama is eyeing a fourth term, with preliminary results showing his Socialist Party securing 53% of the vote, well ahead of the opposition. Sunday's election was seen as a crucial moment in Albania's journey toward European Union membership, a path Rama has promised to complete within 5 years.
All of us are aware that we shall go through many of the same challenges in the years to come. There is a new prospect, a political prospect that comes from abroad. It's not produced or it's not a merit of the internal factors. It's a closer prospect for EU accession. But how that does come and how shall it come actually is not that very much clear.
What is indeed clear are the challenges ahead. While support for EU membership is overwhelming, critics question whether the country's institutions are ready for the reforms required to meet Brussels standards. Rama's longtime rival, 80-year-old former Prime Minister Sali Berisha, ran a US-style campaign with American consultants and backing from 20 political groups and hoped to topple the socialist hold on power.
It's the duty of every commissioner to count and treat with high integrity and based entirely on the law, the votes of the people.
But by Monday morning, it was clear Rama had the upper hand. With nearly a third of votes counted, the socialists were leading strongly, bolstered by new voter participation from overseas. This was the first time Albanians living abroad were able to vote by mail, and over 192,000 people took part. It's a move analysts say may have played in Rama's favour, especially among pro-EU expatriates.
All socialists involved in the process must remain calm, avoid provocations, and patiently get out the victory from the ballot boxes where the sovereign have locked their historic decision.
Turnout, however, was slightly down, at just over 42%, nearly 4 points lower than in 2021. Still, supporters say the message in the ballot boxes is clear. The final count and official result are expected to be released by Tuesday, confirming what many already see as a historic fourth mandate for Rama. Adam Amunu across the Balkans.
Over the past decades, approximately 450,000 Albanians have left the country seeking better opportunities abroad, a trend that continues to reshape Albania's future. To better understand who voters have chosen and what the political landscape may look like, we speak with Associate Professor Klodiana Beshku from the University of Tirana. Professor Beshku, thank you very much for your time and speaking to TRT World and for the show across the Balkans. How do you see the current political landscape of Albania based on the latest election results?
Thank you for this opportunity to give my humble opinion to the TRT. According the last results, we see a confirmation of the main party in power for its fourth mandate. I can believe that people voted for security and for continuity. And I can see that in this high level of insecurity globally and regionally speaking. On the other hand, the main opposition party did not inspire enough with its old leader and its old ways of doing politics. And I'm very sorry that the small parties did not get much more space into the new parliament that is going to be established in Albania. But that is a very good news that we had really very good alternatives for the main parties, to the main parties in Albania, main traditional parties.
How do you expect the government's approach in terms of foreign policy priorities, especially when it comes to the EU integration?
Well, as the Prime Minister has made it very clear, the European integration will be the main issue of the next government. It will be the driver of any political decision and any political reform. It is going to be very easy in theory, because the EU has made its position very clear and has, within the common position for each cluster that has been negotiated in this period. But on the other hand, it will be a challenge to put all these reforms and what is needed from the EU to put it in practice. We know that there is a widespreading corruption in Albania, and I really believe and I hope that in parallel with the EU integration of Albania, the new government is going to fight corruption in many ways and in many directions. So as the European integration of the country should not be like a formal and a process which is good in appearance, but should really transform the country. In this way, I believe that it's going to be a very, very tough journey in these 4 years of the next mandate.
What are some of the challenges and opportunities that Albania sees within joining the EU?
Well, the challenges are, as I mentioned, the fight for corruption and also better for example, the appointment of merit-based people into new positions. And these people, of course, they do not have to be corrupted or previously somehow in touch with corruption, and people expect a lot with the EU, within the EU, and with this journey, because the Socialist Party's mantra was the one of making Albania the next member of the European Union, and this gives a lot of opportunities also. People expect in higher living standards, expect in higher wages, in higher pensions, and in more and better conditions of living. So these are opportunities that go in parallel with the European integration of the country. As I previously said, not to have this process as a mere formal development, but to make this process transform the Albanian society and the Albanian government economy as the European Union inspires at the end.
So how do you see Albania's joining the European Union impact and influence security, particularly in the Western Balkans, with keeping in mind the security threats not just in the Balkans but across the world?
Well, Albania is already a NATO member state, and if it's going to be an EU member state, it's going to become a stability factor in the Western Balkans, because Albania does not have bilateral issues with any of the countries. It does not it doesn't have to do with the conflicts that are somehow coming from the dissolution of former Yugoslavia, and is a pro-European country, so it is going to add more security in the region. That is for sure.
Professor Beshku, thank you very much for your time. For Across the Balkans, we sit down with Woody Chashiti, the editor-in-chief of the Gunpowder Chronicles. We discuss with him why the Balkans are again making headlines in Europe and across the world. Woody, thank you very much for your time. As I've mentioned, the Balkans are going through a new era of security and a new era, I would say, of media attention. Are the Balkans getting this media attention again out of the wrong reasons?
Unfortunately, yes, it seems very much so. The triangle of Milorad Dodik in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Vučić in Belgrade, and Prime Minister Edi Rama sitting in Tirana for the next fourth term is somehow involved and entangled on a web of a situation that is taking this region seriously onto a national security threat. What I mean by that is I speak of the security threat for the security of Eastern Europe. And that means Vučić is playing with Moscow, Rama is playing with Belgrade, they're both playing with Kosovo and Bosnia and Herzegovina. Vučić for its own interest in both countries, Bosnia and Kosovo, Rama for its own interest to keep grip and power in Albania, while giving a good helping hand to Vučić in Belgrade for its nasty game in Kosovo and in Bosnia and Herzegovina together.
How much of a factor were international officials which were sent to the region contributing to the deterioration of the security situation in the Balkans, or to the confinement and actually holding the peace in the Balkans?
Unfortunately, over the last 4 or 5 years, what we witnessed in the Balkans has been an appeasement and tolerating foreign policy of European Union and the United States itself with Biden administration. They have consistently allowed Serbia's aggression discourse towards Kosovo and Serbia's appeasement of the aggressive discourse of Milorad Dodik in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Similarly, in Tirana, we have seen the Prime Minister Rama trying to hold grip and power, playing the diplomatic mirror of a good man, meanwhile appeasing and giving a very helpful helping hand to Vučić to get away with the aggression and the operations of his foreign policy that jeopardize the very fabric of security in this part of the region. And altogether, again, European Union, the Western apparatus of politics have allowed all this to continue to grow, and now we are in a very interesting ledge of, one would argue, potential conflict.
When you say potential conflict, keeping in mind the Hague and what happened in Bosnia and in Kosovo, we still have politicians in the Balkans who deny historical events of the past. Is there a way to move forward with this continuous denial of the truth which happened in the Balkans?
Yes, absolutely. Western powers should be more decisive about what it means to deliver justice. The criminals have to be held accountable and be settled behind the bars, there where they belong to. No criminal entity should be allowed, appeased, or tolerated in whatever circumstances, shape, or form to continue to play politics. This is what the Western powers should support and encourage, instead of trying to buy time for their interest of whatever that means. It's probably a debatable issue at another subject, but by tolerating what they have tolerated so far is a consequence of what we're seeing today, a serious security threat in the Balkans.
Based on your investigations, which were some of the names of both local politicians as well as international officials in the Balkans which kind of drew your attention, and why did they draw your attention?
Well, you see, since Serbia signed agreement of foreign policy alignment with Moscow in September 2022, just a few months after Moscow decided to launch a full-scale invasion in Ukraine, there's been a consistent, significant escalation of tensions in the Balkans, specifically with Serbia playing with fire in Montenegro, Bosnia and Herzegovina, even trying to orchestrate provocations in Croatia, and delivering an annexation attempt in northern Kosovo in September 2023. There, he found help among the European foreign policy officials. There, he found help among the foreign policy envoys of the United States of America. And most significantly so, he found help in Tirana, where the Prime Minister of that time, in September 2023, today's Rama, has gone quickly in an early morning statement aiming to suggest a peace talks, acknowledging a new reality of whatever was going to be the outcome of Banjska attacks in September 2023 in Kosovo. He probably hoped that Serbia's attempt of annexation of Kosovo was going to be successful. But by the afternoon, security apparatus of Kosovo managed to successfully thwart the operation. Therefore, Rama later withdrew. However, he then joined the international chorus of appeasement and tolerance towards Serbia by saying that Kosovo should withdraw its security forces back on its rightful right to defend its territorial integrity from the aggression of Serbia. And this is what then led to continue with Serbia, provoke and escalate further more attacks on Kosovo. Now what's going on is there is a triangle of both happening from Belgrade, from Tirana, and some other operators such as journalists, media entities, and even political groups that are trying to undermine the course of justice of Kosovo that is currently ongoing in The Hague. The idea, what we have found, according to our journalistic investigative findings, suggests that they may want or may hope to undermine The Hague so then the current leaders of the former leaders of Kosovo Liberation Army and then those who actually sat in power in the aftermath of the war in Kosovo were going to possibly be free from the shackles of justice. What that means is with these people coming back possibly to power in Kosovo means Serbia could continue to exercise its goal of re-empowering its power within Kosovo's territorial integrity. As per current leadership of Kosovo that took a mandate in 2021, we saw that Serbia was successfully being challenged. No Serbia's administrative security state apparatus is any longer operating in Kosovo. Serbian national currency has been kicked out of the Kosovan system, and Serbian criminal groups that were jointly being operated with some of the Kosovo's political entities that are today sitting in the opposition side, they have been dismantled by the current leadership of Kosovo. And now we see this triangle of Rama, Vučić, and other entities in Kosovo trying to undermine the course of justice that is actually funded by European Union. This is absolutely outrageous to witness that European Union has yet to take a decision as to what they're going to do following these investigations as to what's going on.
Is this motivated by the rise of the far right in Europe, considering that there are countries in the Balkans which remain outside of the European Union? And are we witnessing a possible new redrawing of the borders in the Balkans?
Unfortunately, I don't really see those political entities that I mentioned before, that they do assign themselves to any sort of political ideology. If anything, they are just criminal entities, because as per our investigative findings, it suggests that they've opened doors to the drug cartels and all sorts of criminal groups that literally are there for the sake of power in order to be able to steal. So I can't really say that these people are entitled to some sort of a degree to be considered as anywhere far or left leaning political ideologies. They are just pure criminal entities that are sitting in the corridors of power. Consequently, we're seeing criminality being tolerated and the course of justice being undermined. So I think the sooner European Union authorities and other Western powers, I'm saying reasonable powers that still mean something, democracy, to them when you speak of democracy, the sooner they realize it and wake up and take decisive decision determinedly, the better it is. The later, the delayed they come forward, it might just be too late.
With what's going on in Ukraine and Europe so to say, recharging its military productions which were turned off since the Second World War. Are we seeing a possibility of a new conflict opening up, not just in the Balkans, but across Europe?
The reality of the matter is the entirety of the Baltic nations have put their budget into the war footing. Europe, Germany, France, and also Italy is speaking about it, but also Britain has its own budget at the war footing. Everyone is recruiting soldiers, everyone is arming. That's a telling. When you go in the morning to buy groceries, you are going to buy groceries because you are going to cook some food. When you're going to buy weapons, it's because you're preparing for what's coming. Any other state that is, or any entity that is speaking otherwise, they are fooling themselves or trying to fool the others. I think people should see this very seriously and take into consideration that war, it is at the doorstep. And Putin of Russia is preparing for it and is moving forward. And if we allow that, he's going to come soon and knock at our doors.
So you just mentioned there seems to be a curtain between the reality of what people live like in the Balkans and official stands. How and what could people in the Balkans themselves do to change the politics which could lead them into a destructive way?
They should not vote for politicians that belong to criminal entities, because that's where Russia finds its nestled bad. Any power that is standing nowadays with Russia, if you just analyze and investigate their background, you will find full criminality in them. And therefore, Russian operators do take this as a matter of coercion, involve them in all sorts of criminality, and then extort this kind of evidence in order to get them to sit with them in promises of hope that they will keep holding grip on power.
Thank you very much for your time, and I wish you all the best with the Gunpowder Chronicles and your investigations in the future.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's not just an election year for Albania. Nearby Romania is preparing for a pivotal election, potentially its most significant since the fall of communism. The European Union and NATO member has gained strategic importance since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. With far-right leader George Simeon pushing for a win, questions arise about the implications for the country's foreign policy and global standing. Adam Ahmunu has more.
A tense handshake between far-right leader George Simeon of the Alliance for the Union of Romanians party and pro-EU Bucharest mayor Nicol Jordan. But it's a striking metaphor of Romania's high-stakes presidential election, where voters face a choice between the country's pro-Western sensibilities and an anti-Western alternative when the second-round poll opens on the 18th of May. Simeon topped the first round of the poll on the 4th of May, with some 41% of the vote, while Dan, who hadn't run in the original annulled election in November, trailed second at 21%. Dan, a former mathematician, maintains that it's still probable he could win the race.
Și îi chem pe toți românii să fie parte din această bătălie și sunt optimist că o să o câștigăm, că România va păstra direcția occidentală și am speranțe că cu toate resursele pe care țara asta le are, o să fie în câțiva ani, o să fie în locul pe care și-l merită. Mulțumesc!
He's had a remarkable rise from scholar to activist to winning Bucharest's mayoral contests in 2020 and 2024. In 2015, he founded the Save Bucharest Union, which later became the Save Romania Union and entered parliament. He quit the party in 2017 because of emerging policy differences. Analysts say Dan's campaign, Honest Romania, could prove attractive in a country where politicians are perceived as corrupt. But some believe he lacks the charisma of his opponent and that his inability to communicate effectively could cost him. Semir, on the other hand, is the clear favourite to win, according to some polls. Others show they are tied ahead of the runoff. Semir founded the AUR party in 2019 and rose to prominence in 2020 during parliamentary elections. The party, whose mantra is family, nation, faith and freedom, is the second largest in Romania's legislature. Semir is running on a campaign to reduce bureaucracy and taxes and hopes to push a different type of foreign policy. The AUR is opposed to military aid for Ukraine, is critical of the EU leadership, and supports US President Donald Trump's Make America Great Again movement.
So the Romanians love the American people, freedom, and President Donald Trump. We won big time yesterday, and the same thing will happen in Poland with our friend Karol Nawrocki.
It's believed a Semir victory could isolate Romania and destabilize NATO's eastern flank, where Bucharest plays a key role in providing logistical support to Ukraine in its defense against Russia. His stance recently emboldened thousands of pro-EU supporters to take to the streets of Bucharest to support the country's continued membership of the bloc. But the tide may be turning as Romania stands at a crossroads, and that means there's everything to play for. Adam Amunu, Across the Balkans.
Thank you for watching TRT World and letting us once again take you across the Balkans. That is all from the team for this week. We hope to see you next week. Bye-bye, or as they say in Albania, miru pfashim.